I met a gypsy.
What do you got? What do you want to
Height.
Oh, it's funny. I've actually this year for the first time put in height weight for the top guys we asked at media days.
Yeah, I'm very interested.
It's funny. Like some of this stuff is super difficult because what ends up happening. So you're going to ask this and you're going to be like, now you're going to want to compare to the past. Like one of the big ones is age. Everybody wants to know the age. And they're like, hey, is this the oldest person that's ever made a main event? Is this the youngest person that's ever made a main event? And it's like, for me to say that, I need the dates of birth for every single person that raced from 1972 to now.
Yeah.
In 1972, it means that person was born sometime in 1950.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, some of them are no longer with us. And on top of it, a date of birth is actually private information.
Yeah.
And so, like, getting it technically requires them to offer it in some way.
So we need
shape,
some
or-
like
So
FBI clearance.
It's just hard. You can get it. Like, dude, I've now got dates of birth for every single winner in the history of the sport. Right.
Wow.
So, and that took Brett Smith and I literally calling some of the old guys at their places of work. We like sleuthed where the heck they were working, like just like investigative work to try to like say, hey, we want to be able to at least talk to age of winners. So anyhow, on the height thing, I've got it for what I would say is like your top 40 or 50 this year. But like, dude, it's so hard.
To go back and
Yeah, because then you look at it, it's like, was Carmichael the same height his rookie year as he was 3 years into his career? The answer is probably no, because he started when he was 16 years old. Same with Bradshaw, and the weight changes every year. And like, it's stuff that you look at and you go, oh, that gets really hard really fast.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm overcomplicating it, right? The joys of being a data guy that gets analytical on stuff, but it's not, those ones tend to be harder than not.
that makes so much sense.
But I can totally look at current guys and like this year, the current guys this year. And one of the things I want to do is actually, I need to just get off my butt and do this, is get a form where the riders can come up to the dang site and say, hey, like, put in your info and we'll hook you up with a subscription so you can see all the stats, all your stats, right? Like, and just get us your height and weight, get us your date, get us the hometown you want people to know is your hometown, and don't lie about it and say it's the cool place that you want to be from, please. I love, like, yeah.
From the North Pole.
Yeah, dude, people get upset if you actually put where they were actually born.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, no, guys, we need like legit hometown, and then give me your current location. Anyhow, I need to get that stuff. Maybe I'll get off my butt here in the next month or so, and we'll get some of that information, because even the past pros can go in and fill something like that out, and then I can get that pipeline built in. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think that's when you talk about like recruiting. Like, I really think that height is playing a much bigger role in the sport these days than what it did in the past, because I think of the way that technique has changed. And you're getting these guys that are taller that are applying a different leverage on the motorcycle now, because technique evolved, and then they evolved with the technique, and then all of a sudden this body shape that historically was using a different body position that was under leveraged is now in like a point of maximum leverage.
Yeah.
And I think that's my like gut feeling on, you look at like a Jet versus a Hunter, and I mean, they're very close. The riding style's the same. Their bikes at us very like the length of their levers are different.
Yeah, Jet's got to have a couple of inches on them, right?
And
who knows what inseam length is
exactly. Yeah. And so like you've got these points of leverage on the motorcycle, because essentially all you're doing, speed on a motorcycle equals body positioning and bike positioning over time.
Yeah.
Like that's literally.
This is a place where you just brought me down a whole new path of data where I want like inseam and arm length and like, but that's the stuff. That's the bio data. That's like to the piece before of like, give me that type of data, and you're gonna learn.
Because the NFL, you're getting picked.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying I would like motocross and supercross to go down that.
Yeah.
But I think just purely as a fan or purely as like an interest, know, like it's like, hey, if my kid's gonna be 5'11", like to 6 foot, like, dude, you're in the Goldilocks zone. Or if you're like a Benny Bloss, like there's probably a point of diminishing returns where now you're over leveraged.
Yeah.
You know, and Alex Martin is probably under leveraged for Supercross.
Cooper Webb would like you to hold his beer.
Yeah. And but he
Right?
he probably is under leveraged.
Yeah.
You know, like So I think it's a very interesting thing. Like if there was data, and it's all speculation.
Yeah.
You know, it's just me speculating currently.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
it's
but like RC used to always have his subframes cut down, right? Like
Yeah.
that was a height thing. Like he was having to optimize the bike in a different way that a Kevin Windham or a Chad Reed wouldn't have had to do. So
I think
totally reasonable.
back then the technique was different to where those forces, the leverage forces, didn't come into play as much for the taller guys. So you would almost think, oh, it's better to be shorter. Because that was the narrative when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I was like lanky and long, and you'd see me ride, and everyone's like, you're too tall for moto. And I was like, I'm fucking 6 foot. Like, I'm not that tall.
Yeah.
But that was the narrative when I was young.
Yeah.
Is that you need to be short and stocky, and because that's just what did good at the
Wardy,
time.
man.
Yeah, Wardy, Jeff Lease, Ricky Carmichael.
Oh, Lease. Wow. Yeah,
the Flying Freckle.
Yeah.
You know, like there's so many guys that they were just these shorter kind of dudes. Stewie.
Yep. Yeah. Stu, RC. I mean, even MC's not a particularly tall guy, right? Like maybe 5'10".
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then like the difference between 250, 450. Like you look at the shorter guys that have won championships on a 250.
Oh, that's interesting. Alrighty, guys. Every rider that's listening, just drop me your height and weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get into the database, and I'll answer this question for you.
So what other stuff's interesting to you at the moment? Is there any other storylines that you're super into? Is there any changes you personally would love to see with the sport? Or
yeah, the interesting piece to me, like for me right now, there's a big focus on lap time stuff. Yeah, I've been spending two areas: lap times and then team history. Like in two very different reasons, right?
Yeah.
The lap time stuff is really for rider recruitment, rider performance, and just understanding who's got strengths and weaknesses in different portions, and just recreating the race in data, right? Like knowing the gate position versus, like, I want to get to the point of gate position to what position they were in entering the first turn to what position they were entering exiting the first turn. To because
that speaks to like who's got great reactions, who's got the ability to find a hole, who's got the ability to, like, there's a lot there,
dude. There's the first 2 laps of every race. I think you see it in any of the lap charts. There's just a lot of movement, and once the race gets separated out, for you to come back is going to be harder and harder as the sport progresses. And so I just think the importance of the beginning of the race is the importance of the start. You see it. The average white line position has dropped from 2.8 3 years ago to this year's 2.4. That's half a position. So if you want to win, it's a half a position better at the white line now. It just tells you it's more important. Now, the interesting part, it's even harder to get a good start now. So everybody's average has actually gone up because the field, everybody knows the start's important. So everybody's putting the same effort forth to be better at those starts. So it's just one of those things where once you learn one thing to progress, you can't just stay stagnant. You're going to have to continue to progress. So to me, lap times and positions on the track and that stuff is really interesting from a data and stats perspective. The team stuff is just me being a nerd of the sport. And like, I love looking at that stuff and comparing those things. And RC gives me a hard time. He's like, you're such a fanboy sometimes. And I'm like, yeah, I am. You're right. Yeah. You're right. Dude, do you know how many wins you have? Like, do you know how many losses you have? Let's talk about that. Like, I just think that's, it's respect for every one of these guys, from every privateer out there to everybody that's won a race. Like, it's just incredible respect for what they've done in their careers. And so I love celebrating that stuff and seeing what it is and finding the stories. So
we're excited to announce the launch of our new membership site, gypsytales.com, packed with exclusive content and perks that you won't find anywhere else. This is your chance to become a part of the Gypsy Gang. And as a special bonus, if you sign up to an annual membership, you'll be entered into the draw to win our custom-built TC125 Gypsy Gang.